have captured Myanmar's biggest nickel mine operated by China. And the United States is rocked by yet another mass shooting at a school as a 14-year-old boy goes on a rampage, killing 2 other students and 2 teachers using the AR-15 assault rifle, which the National Rifle Association of America promotes as America's rifle. We take you to the heart of the world's biggest war zones and answer the why question behind every smoldering conflict.
Gun violence is a serious issue in America.
World at war, at these times, only on WION.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back to WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Hem Kaur Suraya and this is World DNA. Here's a look at what we've lined up for you on the show this morning. Israeli forces target more than 15 rocket launchers and sites belonging to Hezbollah and a series of airstrikes in southern Lebanon. IDF claims some of the launchers were primed for rocket attacks on Israel. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken deplores the death of Turkish-American woman killed by Israeli troops during a protest in the West Bank, promises necessary action after the investigation. "15-year-old Maryland high school student dies after being shot by another student inside the school bathroom. 16-year-old suspect arrested. Police say he will be tried as an adult. Sentencing for Donald Trump in hush money trial delayed until after November's election. Former US President was scheduled to be sentenced on the 18th of September for falsifying business records to silence a porn star. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky makes a fresh appeal for more weapons to counter the threat from advancing Russian forces and devastating missile strikes. Arrives in Italy for the Economic Forum. US officials charge a Pakistani resident of Canada with plotting mass shooting against Jewish people in New York. for the first anniversary of Hamas's attacks in Israel. Panama deports 130 Indian migrants who enter the country via the Darien jungle. Expulsion made under a deal on repatriation signed with the United States in July. A strike by airlines Argentina staff halted 183 flights and disrupted 15,600 passengers. The action, part of ongoing salary disputes, led to criticism from the government, which has been reducing the airline's workforce and plans for privatization. Over 15 rocket launchers and sites belonging to Hezbollah were targeted in a series of Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon. Claiming responsibility, the Israeli Defense Force said, IDF, it shared aerial footage of the attack. According to Israel, IDF carried out at least 50 airstrikes against Hezbollah in sites in Lebanon over the past week, including that on weapons depots. In the south, 40 sites, which IDF said belonged to Hamas, were struck in the Gaza Strip. The military said 100 operatives were killed in the strikes. However, as per Gaza Health Ministry, 27 Palestinians were killed on Friday alone in the Israeli strikes. As the war nears the 11-month mark, thousands of demonstrators took to the streets in Yemen's Sana'a to express their support for the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The Houthi rebels have been organizing protests in the city nearly every Friday since the start of the conflict. In October, they also targeted more than 80 vessels with missiles and drones in the Red Sea. Recently, the group targeted 2 crude oil tankers, the Saudi-flagged Jamaat and the Panama-flagged Blue Lagoon vessel. In the latest, U.S. Central Command forces destroyed 1 Houthi uncrewed aerial vehicle and support vehicle in Yemen. The Central Command said on social media that the Iran-backed group presented a clear and imminent threat to the United States and coalition forces as well as merchant vessels in the region. It said this action was taken to protect freedom of navigation and make international waters safer and more secure for U.S. coalition and merchant vessels. Now, while the United States is considering a direct deal with Hamas as Israel, despite the rising internal protests in Israel and the growing international pressure, there's no clarity yet on the Gaza ceasefire deal, faced with the prospect of a potential failure of the talks. The United States is now scaling down its expectations, focusing instead on a different set of aims. Take a look.
Under pressure to commit to a truce in Gaza, Israel is stepping up its strikes on all fronts, conducting raids in Gaza localities, mounting attacks in the West Bank, raising the questions as to whether Israel, under Prime Minister Netanyahu, is at all interested in pursuing peace. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant is one of those who have been publicly urging the Israeli Prime Minister to be flexible in truce negotiations with Hamas. Their public spats over the issue have prompted Netanyahu to say he wants to sack Gallant. Now Washington is sending out a clear message telling Netanyahu not to do so, and that they are satisfied with the cooperation with Gallant. A According to local Israeli media reports, the US message was polite but clear. Faced with Netanyahu's stonewalling attempts on peace, the US is giving vent to its frustration. It is telling Netanyahu that tensions need to be reduced. Amid a potential Iran attack that threatens a wider all-out regional conflict. In a blunt message, the US says its aircraft carrier cannot stay in the region to defend Israel forever. In the backdrop of the US hard talk, the Israeli forces have withdrawn from Jenin in the occupied West Bank after a 10-day-long siege. At least 21 people were killed in Jenin city and the refugee camp, the Palestinian Ministry of Health has said. Faced with the constant stonewalling of the truce efforts, the US is indicating it is making its own plans for the possible collapse of ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. General C.Q. Brown, chairman of the US Joint Chiefs of Staff, says the US is focused on how not to broaden the conflict and also how to protect its forces. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
For more on this, we were earlier joined by Charles Kupchan, Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Here's what he had to say.
Well, listen, this is a pretty far-right Israeli government, the most far-right in Israeli history. And the United States sees Yoav Gallant as probably the most serious, influential voice of reason and voice of restraint. He has broken openly with Netanyahu on the question of whether Hamas can be completely defeated. He was critical of Netanyahu's effort to orchestrate legal changes. This goes back to before October 7 and the outbreak of war with Gaza. He has also encouraged Netanyahu to agree to remove Israeli forces from the border with between Gaza and Egypt, a key sticking point in the ceasefire negotiations. So he's on record disagreeing with the prime minister, and that's one of the reasons there's a lot of tension. But I think the United States is saying, don't get rid of your defense minister because he is an important player here and he could prevent the Israelis from even going further in terms of opening a wider war in the region.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is in Italy for an annual international economic conference. He addressed the members on Friday and continued to stress on Ukraine's need for long-range weapons from its allies. Zelensky will also hold talks with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni during this visit. Now, prior to his visit in Italy, Zelensky told US and allied military leaders that Ukraine needs the ability to strike deep within Russia. And at the conference, he insisted that Ukraine only wants to use these weapons to strike military airfields inside Russia.
I think we have to... What we want, how to use this long-distance weapon, just on military airfields, just to use this weapon, which can work with 100 and 300 kilometers. That's all. That's all. No other ideas.
But Washington has pushed back against Kyiv's demands, saying that the use of US weapons for long-range strikes into Russia would not be a game changer for Ukraine. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has cautioned that there is no one capability that would turn the war in Kyiv's favor.
We said all along, Uta, there's no one capability that will, in and of itself, be decisive in this campaign. You know, we had this discussion about tanks. We had this discussion about other capabilities, and each time we point out that it's not just one thing; it's the combination of capabilities and how you integrate those capabilities to achieve objectives.
Austin also said that Ukraine has capabilities of its own, such as drones, to hit targets inside Russia that were beyond the reach of ATACMS and British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles. The United States has also said that any Iranian transfer of ballistic missiles to Russia would make a sharp escalation in the war in Ukraine. This comes after reports that the two countries have deepened ties in recent weeks with such an arms transfer. According to reports, Iran has sent short-range ballistic missiles to Russia, giving Moscow another potent military tool despite the West's warnings. Further reports also suggest that the United States has detected increased Russian military activity around key undersea cables. US officials have been quoted saying that Russia has put emphasis on building up a dedicated military unit which deploys surface ships, submarines and naval drones. They say Russia may now carry out potential sabotage operations aimed at disabling a critical piece of the world's communications infrastructure. The US regularly attacks Russian ships that patrol close to critical maritime infrastructure and undersea cables, often far from Russian shores. And in a big legal relief for Donald Trump, a judge has delayed the sentencing in the Republican leader's hush money trial till after the November 5th election. The sentencing, which was earlier scheduled for the 18th of September, it will now be held on the 26th of November. The Republican presidential nominee had asked a New York judge to push back the date for sentencing until after the presidential elections are held. He was originally scheduled to be sentenced on the 11th of July. However, a judge then delayed the sentencing until the 18th of September, until after a Supreme Court hearing on Trump's presidential immunity bid. Now, back in May, a 12-member jury convicted Donald Trump on 34 counts of falsifying business records. Trump was found guilty of paying hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels in order to stop her from disclosing an alleged sexual encounter during the 2016 presidential election. Trump, reacting to the judgment, expressed relief over the postponement of the sentencing and termed the case as a witch hunt against him.
This country is being destroyed rapidly, not slowly, rapidly.
Before we begin, big news today is that Manhattan DA witch hunt against me has been postponed because everyone realizes that there was no case because I did nothing wrong. It's a witch hunt. It's an attack by my political opponents in Washington, D.C., and Comrade Kamala Harris and radical left opponents for purposes of election interference.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
A judge has postponed Donald Trump's sentencing in his Manhattan court case until after Election Day to November 26th. The original sentencing date was set for September 18th, just 7 weeks prior to the upcoming presidential election. The judge, Juan Marchand, cited unique time frame and wanted to avoid partisan second-guessing in the campaign's final stretch. The judge emphasized the need for a fair, impartial process, which is far from distortion. Donald Trump faces up to 4 years in prison, but the judge could impose a shorter sentence or probation. Now, while this is good news for the Trump camp, they aren't celebrating because they believe that all of this is a witch hunt and a distraction. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, not many festivals in India are celebrated with the same fervor as Ganesh Chaturthi, especially in the western state of Maharashtra. As the festivities are underway to celebrate Lord Ganesha's birth, our correspondent Disha Shah sends us this special report. The streets of India's financial capital city, Mumbai, are buzzing with excitement as people prepare for the grand celebration of Ganesh Chaturthi. The 10-day festival, starting from September 7th, marks the birth of Lord Ganesha, and during this time, homes and public spaces are transformed into sacred spaces filled with beautiful Ganpati decorations. First up, flowers are an integral part of Ganpati decoration, symbolizing purity and devotion. Variety of floral options are available in the market, from artificial to real ones in different designs as well. From traditional marigolds, elegant roses, lilies, rajnigandhas to exotic orchids, the streets look vibrant and colourful.
This year, specifically, the demand for sustainable decoration has increased significantly as people are now opting for more eco-friendly options.
To check eco-friendly options, WION visited one of the oldest decor shops called Utsavi Decorations that makes and sells cardboard decor for the last 24 years in Lal Bagh area of Mumbai. It sells not only in Mumbai but across the globe, even in countries like the United States, UK, Japan, Mauritius, UAE and even China. Cardboard decor is becoming popular since last few years as it is eco-friendly, reusable and easy to assemble at your own home in 15 to 20 minutes.
I would like to introduce my father, who is promoter of this concept. In 2001, he observed the increased use of thermocol, plastic and other materials, and he studied for 3 to 4 years. He researched different material, and then cardboard is one of the very good material he found, economical, reusable, and he made structures out of it. It took about 7 to 8 years to promote this concept, and now we are seeing that whole efforts are resulting in good transformations.
In the other lanes of the famous Lal Bagh area, which is home to the biggest idols across the country, streets are filled with attractive LED lights, which is also an option for Ganpati decoration at home and even in biggest pandals. And lastly, no celebration is complete without sweets. Lord Ganesh is also known for his love for modak, a sweet treat consisting of rice flour, coconut and jaggery. The unique delicacy is closely connected with the celebration of Ganesh Chaturthi. WION visited one of the oldest sweet shops in Lal Bagh area itself, where morsels are available in a range of tastes and shapes, each with its own distinct flavor and appeal. It is known to make more than 400 kgs of modak during the span of this festive period, and people make it in their homes, housing societies and pandals to serve as prasad to devotees who come to worship Lord Ganesha.
It certainly seems that the city of Mumbai is so ready to welcome our favorite Lord Ganesha. And this time around, the excitement amongst the citizens is much more, as more pandals have been built up compared to the last year. More than 13,000 pandals have been set up across the city, which essentially means that you as a citizen will get more and more options to go and visit your favorite idol to worship. With video journalist Srinivas, this is Isha Shah reporting here for WION World is One from Mumbai.
And European nations are pouring billions into their militaries. That's a direct response to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This surge in defense spending, it's created a bonanza for defense contractors who are cashing in on the increased demand for weapons, equipment and services. Take a look at our next report on the business of war.
In 2024, Poland increased its defense spending to 4% of its GDP, amounting to $34.8 billion, significantly surpassing NATO's 2% target. This makes Poland the highest spender relative to GDP among NATO's 32 outpacing larger economies like Germany, France, and the UK. Over half of Poland's defense budget, 51%, is allocated to new equipment, making it Europe's fastest growing military power. Recent purchases include 96 Apache attack helicopters from the US, valued at $12 billion, and 1,000 K2 tanks from South Korea, as Poland reinforces its position on NATO's eastern flank. Poland's defense spending reflects a broader trend across NATO in 2024, with military budgets rising significantly. A record 23 NATO members are on track to meet the 2% of GDP defense benchmark this year, compared to just 7 in 2022. Total NATO defense spending grew by 11% in 2024, with European members increasing their budgets by 19%. This surge is a direct response to the war in Ukraine and the escalating global tensions, leading to rapid military modernization and increase defense capabilities across the alliance. The global defense industry is seeing unprecedented financial gains, driven by surging government orders for military equipment. Defense contractors are projected to generate $52 billion in free cash flow by 2026, nearly double the amount from 2021. Major US companies like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, along with European firms such as BAE Systems, are profiting from increased military budgets, fueled by conflicts in Ukraine, Taiwan, and West Asia. While the defense sector is booming, it's important to note the cyclical nature of this industry. Geopolitical easing of tensions can halt this defense boom. Still, defense remains a key priority for nations across the globe. The current geopolitical climate suggests one trend. The business of war will continue to boom as global competitiveness peaks. Business Bureau, WION. World is one.
All right, let's take a look at what's happening in the world of entertainment now. One of the most iconic Indian films, Veer Zara, is making its way back to the cinemas. The cross-border love story starring Shah Rukh Khan and Preeti Zinta was both a critical and commercial success when it first hit screens in 2004. In addition to Shah Rukh, Preeti and Rani, the film also stars Manoj Bajpayee, Divya Datta, Kiran Kher, Boman Irani and Amitabh Bachchan in key roles. Fresh off his genre-blending Neon Nights, Norwegian Grammy-winning electronic legend Alan Walker announces the release of his latest hit, Thick of It All. The music video features pop icons Joe Jonas and Julia Michaels. Alan Walker will be bringing his Walker World Global Tour to India later this month with the 10-city showcase. Thick of It All is one of his projects which he will be promoting during this tour. A new women's singles US Open champion will be crowned later today as second seed Aryna Sabalenka takes on home favourite Jessica Pegula in New York. World number 2 Sabalenka entered the tournament.
I really want to win. I always say US Open because I don't know, I like everything about New York, you know. I like to spend time off the court. I like to play in front of such a beautiful crowd, even though sometimes they against me, but I know that deeply inside they support me. So I really love New York, and I really hope that one day I'll be able to hold that beautiful trophy.
Sabalenka, who holds a 5-2 head-to-head advantage over Pegula in the WTA Tour level matches, and she beat Pegula in their most recent encounter, which was the Cincinnati Open final last month. And with that, we call it a wrap on this edition of World DNA. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay tuned.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
On Wings this week, we feature Ganesh Chaturthi that is kicking off now. And food in focus during the festival. We cover La Tomatina Festival in Spain and other wild events worldwide. Before bringing you stories from the United Kingdom for history buffs, only on WION World is One. Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the goats in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back to WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Hem Korsara and here's a look at all the top stories that we're tracking at this hour. Israeli forces target more than 15 rocket launchers in sites belonging to Hezbollah in a series of airstrikes in southern Lebanon. IDF claims some of the launchers were primed for rocket attacks on Israel.